G'day guys, welcome to Westo Fish Sport Fishing Charters and Coaching. I'm Westo and my goal is to make you guys better anglers through helpful hints and tips. Today's tip guys, I'm going to show you how to re-spool your bait casters and spin outfits. It's important over every 12 to 18, even 2 years to turn over the braided line that you have on your reels. Reason being is the daily exposure they have to salt and sun. If you want to keep maximum strength, I highly advise you change your braid every couple of years. So for this demonstration guys, obviously I have a reel spooler and not everyone's going to have the luxury of having that, but all the same things that I'll tell you to watch out for and to ensure that they're being done right can quite easily be done with a mate standing across the other side of the yard and you winding it onto your reel off the rod. Same principles apply. So firstly guys, what you're going to need is you're going to need some backing material. In this case, just got 15 pound. It doesn't have to be the best of quality, so don't stress too much about what monofilament line you get. Just ensure you match roughly the diameter of your mono line to your braided line. So then all you're going to do is you're going to obviously put it through the line guide, wrap it around. This is the tedious part. Once you've got that through guys, it's just a simple blood knot, so just the same knot that you would tie to one of your hooks. Tie again around the main line about 5 or 6 times. Back through the loop. It's gone around the spool, and then I like to just do a little bit of a lock off through the loop you've created. This isn't really a knot session, but something's going to be able to tighten down onto that spool. So then guys, like I said, you could do this with a screwdriver. Now you don't need a lot of backing. You only need enough just to back up the spool. So once you've put your backing on, just clip that, put that aside. Then it's time to tie your new braided line to your backing. 2, 3. So I just use I think it's just a double blood knot. It's just a connection knot from mono to braid. Now remember guys, this is going to be right at the bottom of your spool, so not too stressed if your knot doesn't quite do the trick. Helps if I put that through the loop. It might tighten down better for me. So that's that, and just the same knot with your braid. So the reason for putting backing on, I don't know whether I explained that, is particularly monofilament, is that monofilament has stretch. It's like a bit of an elastic band. So what happens is when you tie it nice and tightly, it'll spring back and tighten up nicely against the spool, and that way it won't spin on the spool. And the other reason is braided lines typically don't come in larger spools like this, or people don't buy them from the shop at retail like that. They generally buy smaller spools like 150 yards or 300 yards or meters if you're in Australia. Therefore some of these reels you need to make up part of the spool with the backing to allow you to accommodate the full spool of braided line. So that's the main reason why you have monofilament backing. Then guys, it's just a matter of getting that onto the spool. Now once it's onto the spool, the most important thing to remember, whether your mate's got the screwdriver or you're doing it with a line machine, or even if you're watching it at a tackle store and old mate's doing it, is to ensure that there's adequate pressure on the braided line going onto the spool. And the reason for that is that what can happen if there's not enough pressure applied and it doesn't bite down nice and tight and lay on tight onto the reel, what can happen is when you catch a fish or you hook a snag, the braided line will actually bite through the rest of the layers of the reel and dig itself right down to the bottom of the reel. And therefore you've got all sorts of dramas with casting and everything in the future. So it's vitally important, not so much important with mono, but particularly with braid, that you have a nice amount of pressure that it goes on. And you'll see that braid is going on nice and tightly, laying nicely next to each other and not on loose. You want to avoid it going on loose. Righto, so we've come just to the end of the line, and what I want to show you is how much is enough. Now you can see there, I've probably overdone it, but you can see in nice and tight there, there's about 1/2 mil from the arris in the corner of the spool. Might bring it over here, might be able to see it on this side a little bit better. But you can see in there, there's about 1/2 mil between that arris and the top of the spool down to where the line's spooled on. So that's the adequate amount. You don't want to overspool. Overspooling will cause all sorts of issues with line coming down into here. It won't lay flat when you cast, and it generally won't cast very good. So then once you've done that, guys, clip your braided line. Take him off. If you're not going to put it straight on, usually loosen your, put a bit of a loop knot in it. Rightio, so you don't wind it on. Have to thread it on. And just put him over the bottom of your reel seat there. And that's one bait caster done. Quite simple. So guys, I was talking before about the effect of salt and obviously the sun and the impact it has on your line. Now this is the same braid I use, Suffix 832, that I've spooled on this reel approximately 12 months ago. Now you can see the difference in colour between the two, and that's purely just through use, salt water and sun exposure. So time to change her, eh? So we've got a spool of spin. Spin is no different at all. Obviously most of the guys, like I said, will ensure that you put it on in the backyard. Old mate's holding it nice and firm. It's all the same principles as what you would with a bait caster. Now with spin wheels, they have large capacity, so if you have a look on the side of your spool, generally they will tell you the line capacity of that particular spool. So you got PE, PE3, they've also got mono diameter, so you can gauge any of those, and they're Power Pro in the US. So they do have a number or millimeter diameter and how much you can put on it. So in this case, it says here anything with 0.37, you'll get roughly 150 meters. 30-pound braid, Power Pro, I don't know the diameter of it, but roughly 150. But when I'm using, when I'm spooling spin cast type reels, I want to ensure that I get the maximum amount of braid on there as I can. There are a couple of lines also on the inside of the spool that you'll see that denotes half spool, so you can get a little bit of a gauge of how much you can put on there safely without underdoing yourself with the spool of braid. So I'm just going to put enough on here, guys, to cover the bottom of the spool again, like I did with the bait casters. Now the one thing to ensure with these spooling machines is that you get the lay of the reel, the line right, and the lay of the reel is clockwise, so it'll wind on clockwise. Rightio, so that's that done. Like I said, it's exactly the same principle with braid, with your bait caster, sorry, as your spin. Give yourself some line there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Through there, lock off, and then just your braided side. So I think this is called a double blood knot. Maybe I'll touch on knots in another blog for you. It's just a braid to mono type knot. Fairly common knot. trim those tags, want them as low as possible. And then it's just a matter, guys, of exactly the same principles I stated earlier on with your mono. And that is, you need to ensure that it goes on nice and tight. Also got to adjust this across just to make sure that I'm laying nice and square. Tighten him up. Just come a bit loose there. Just make sure everything's adequately tightened up, and then it's just a matter of laying your braid on, ensuring that you've got good pressure, and then just lay it on nice and evenly. You can watch here, I'm using my finger to guide the braid on, keeping nice pressure on the spool of the main braided reel, and just guiding it on there. Now obviously when you're winding this with your mate in the backyard or in the lounge room, he is going to be able to, your reel is going to guide that on for you, so you're not necessarily going to need to do this. So that's where you guys that are doing it manually yourself probably have it over the likes of me. This definitely saves a lot of burning your mate's hand on the spool when you're holding the screwdriver. But I suppose if it's your rod, you're not too worried because your mate's getting done. So we're just coming to the back end of that now. I'm just slow it down a little bit, and I'll show you briefly how much is enough. So you don't want to overspool. If you overspool, line goes everywhere. You don't want that sort of disaster happening on the boat when you land a big one. That'll just about do us there, guys. So I'll come over and show you. You can see again, let the lip of the line, of the spool, dictate how high you go. You can see there's just like a 1/2 millimeter gap from where the arris is in that spool to there. We'll come around to here. It's the same here, you can just see there, that'll auto zoom. You can just see there a small 1/2 millimeter lip underneath that arris there, where it goes, cones out to the end of the spool. And that's all you need, guys. You overfill it, you'll find once you're retrieving, you'll have dramas. And you don't want dramas when you're on the water, particularly if you have just landed yourself the fish of a lifetime. So that, guys, is how you spool both a spin outfit and a bait caster. Hope you've learned something from it, guys. If there's one thing I'll stress to you that you really need to take away from this particular video, is that make sure that that lay of that line goes on nice and firm. You keep adequate pressure on that spool when you're winding it on. That will prevent you having dramas when you're on the water. So guys, if you enjoyed the clip, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If not, follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Westo Fish, or by all means whip over to the website www.westofish.com.au. Pop into the Learning Centre where all these videos are, or you can sign up to our free email list and you'll get regular updates as to when I pop these things up. So guys, hope you learned something from it. Take care, see you on the water, tight lines.